brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking host, the good old boys. And now it's sippin' time.
It is definitely sippin' time here on Sips, Suds, and Smokes. Welcome to this Sips episode where everything good in life is worth discussing. We are the best thing on at 2 a.m. along with the crickets. And we thank you for choosing to listen to us. What are your other choices here on the dial tonight? I don't know. Infomercial on the best way to heat up Cheese Whiz.
Ancient Hungarian basket weaving.
Something like that. I'm one of your hosts here at the table, good old boy Mike. Joining me here at the table is good old gal Julieanna.
Hey, guys.
And joining us remotely today is good old boy Harmeet.
I don't even know what to say, man. I should be asleep. It's 2 in the morning.
2 in the morning. And also joining us is good old boy Bob.
Good to be here.
So Bob and Harmeet are joining us from the Fort Lauderdale area, and Bob is part of a group called Bourbon Mafia. He's a made man. He knows people who knows people who know people in Japan. That's for sure. Now, Harmeet just sits around and harasses people about the liquor industry all day long, right?
Yeah, my job is to push the stuff for the Bourbon Mafia. I'm a distribution channel.
See, you're one of the people who know.
Yeah.
Well, our sip segments are all about wine, distilled spirits, tea, and coffee. Today's episode is going to all about be Japanese whiskey. Konnichiwa to all of our listeners about the Japanese whiskey. We have several products to go over today. Plus, we'll be speaking really bad Japanese, as I just did there, as a prime example, and focusing on offending an entire culture of people. Hi.
Okay.
I was going to thank you for having us back on the show, and now I realize the topic and the accents we'll be doing, and they want to back out now.
Well, I don't know if it's available right off the bat.
Yeah.
So, domo arigato for joining us on this episode. So, this episode of Sips, Suds, and Smokes is sponsored by Fine Spirits, Wine, and Liquor. Check out the Enomatic machines to sample great products by the glass, including a great selection of bourbon and whiskey. You can reach them online at www.finespirits.net, N-E-T. Julieanna is going to get the honors of going over our Sips ratings for today.
So, we'll be tasting and discussing these whiskeys and rating them with the Sips ratings, plus our signature sounds.
Are we going to be rating how we're insulting the Japanese culture as well?
That as well.
I'll just do it in advance.
Big numbers. Here,
we don't dislike them. We're just ignorant.
Very true. So,
a group of guys in trying to get along.
Here are those ratings now. Number 1, give me a glass of water to wash out my mouth.
Water.
That guy's not Japanese.
Bring water.
Number 2.
He's always bringing the water. He doesn't get to bring anything else. Horrible.
There is our motto.
There it is.
There it is. Know what country that's from.
Always bring the whiskey to wash the whiskey out of your mouth. The bad whiskey.
Number 2. Nice, but what else do you have?
Well, isn't that nice?
Number 3. Interesting. What was that again?
Interesting.
That was not somebody from Japan.
Number 4. Let's keep this a secret to ourselves. Pour me another.
That's classified.
Number 5. Oh my, I was unaware anything could be this good.
Oh my goodness!
Yes! 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 Yes!
Oh, yeah. We're definitely going to be in a lot of trouble today as we're combining whiskey and a foreign culture. And I get to butcher and mispronounce just about everything. Plus, I'm in charge of the soundboard, so I can screw everything up.
We can blame everything
I can
on
blame
you. Every sound
everything back. So
有効と RE リスニング TOSIPS SUDS and smokes.
that's right. You are listening to Sips, Suds, and Smokes. And if you didn't catch what she was just saying, you suck at speaking Japanese.
USUCK at Japanese.
Nice.
Well, we're going to have a lot of fun listening to our Japanese speaker as we go through the Japanese whiskeys for today. We really have a really great show lined up. We're going to talk a little bit about some background about Japanese whiskey. Then we're going to get right into actually tasting 5 really great products today. A really great lineup. So here are the products we're going to be tasting today. I'm going to be butchering every single one of these. So please laugh hard and often, okay? Okay. So the first one is Hakushu 12. Hakushu. Yeah, just right off the bat.
Hakushu.
Nikka Taketsuru, a 17-year-old. Togouchi, 18-year-old. Yeah, just again.
Yeah. Good try.
Yamazaki, 12-year-old. I think I nailed that one.
That
one.
was
I'm just
Do you have
gonna.
an applause button? You need the applause
I do. I'm going to declare victory over that one right off the bat. So
Oh, you just declared victory over the Japanese again.
And Yoichi, 10-year-old. That's I got that one too. So how about that? So those are the 5 products that I've butchered. We'll list these on our website, so you won't have to interpret it too hard. So, Bob, you're up first to give us some background on today's show, and I want to make sure that we're tossing it to you properly. So, I'm going to make sure she tells you to take it away, Bob.
Take idea away, Bob.
There you go, Bob.
There you go. There are many people in the world who don't realize that the Japanese produce their own single malt and blended whiskeys, and in fact, Japan is the world's 3rd largest producer of whiskeys behind the Scots and the Americans. They even beat the Irish. The popularity of Japanese whiskey has grown to the wider international audience since Japanese whiskey first won a major award in 2001. Following this, Japanese whiskeys have won 2 of the most prestigious titles in the World Whiskey Awards in 2008. The Yoichi 20-year-old won Best Single Malt, and the Hibiki 30-year-old won the Best Blended Whiskey.
Don't forget about Whiskey Bible's 2015 award.
Yep, and Whiskey Bible 2015. That was huge news when that one came in #1 World Whiskey of the Year. These were the first Japanese whiskeys to win such a prize, and the results sent shockwaves around the world. As far as the history of Japanese whiskey, Japan has a relatively short history when making whiskey compared to Scotland and America and Ireland. It does, however, offer almost 90 years of history since the foundation of the first single malt distillery at Yamazaki in 1923. The early part of Japanese whiskey's history is largely the same as that of the Yamazaki distillery itself. Yamazaki's founder, Shinjiro Tori, sent one of his students, let me try and get this one, Makitsaka Taketsuru, to Scotland after the end of the First World War.
Yeah, exactly.
And his mission was to get information and experience and learn everything that he could about the Scottish whiskey industry as possible. And after 3 years in Scotland and working at several distilleries, Taketsuru returned to put his knowledge into practice and to build the Yamazaki. He later went on.
I'm still trying to figure out how this conversation went down. It's like, okay, so the war is over now. Now, what is it that you're going to go do? We're going to send you, we want you to go to Scotland and figure out how to make booze. It's like, it just, the skill set, it just didn't translate between the two. I'm still trying to figure out the continuity of, it's like, did he win a bet or did he lose a bet? I'm just still trying to figure that out.
He brought back one of the Scottish chicks as his wife. So
there you go. I think that is totally it. I think Harmeet.
And he miscegenated just like me.
Oh my God. That's horrible.
I tell you, I love the blonde women. I've been married to 2 of them already.
Well, so yeah, you're right. It was probably about a girl. That's
Of
it.
course. A redhead, no less.
Yeah,
That's
probably.
usually pretty
I'm
much
gonna go
everything
with
in life
Juliana.
is about a girl. So.
I agree. So
A girl and whiskey, he won.
you know, so in
He
the
won.
absence of actually knowing the real history, we're going to just make it up, and it sounds plausible. It's all about the girl.
Of course.
You know what Charlie Sheen would say? Winning.
What scotch? I'm sorry, I interrupted you there, Bob.
Let's see, where was I? Japanese industry started booming in the 70s and the 80s when sales of imported whiskey were increasing massively. Numerous new distilleries were built, and some sake distilleries and companies also converted to making whiskey in order to meet the demand. By the end of the 80s, the whiskey industry in Japan was struggling, and a number of distilleries were closed. The main contributing factors blamed for the slump were the increasing cheapness and availability of imported whiskeys from Scotland, Ireland, and the USA, combined with a hike in the Japanese alcohol tax. This made the Japanese whiskeys very expensive in comparison to the overseas competitors, and the sales crash. Today, the demand for Japanese whiskey is growing again. This is mostly in the export markets, as taxes are still high in the Japanese market, and it's flooded with the cheaper foreign imported whiskeys. Though the winning of major whiskey awards, the reputation of the Japanese whiskey has grown, and more people are drinking it now than ever. Japanese whiskey contributes to 5% of all world whiskey sales, meaning that 1 in every 20 bottles of whiskey sold is Japanese. This helps to
Nice with the math there. I like that.
This helps to sustain 8 operating whiskey distilleries, including the original Yamazaki and Chichibu, and the first new distillery in Japan since the 70s, which opened in 2008. And Harm's going to tell us a little bit more.
Why me? Why me?
Well, Harmeet, actually,
I've not been to Japan.
in order to do that math, we used a vast array of people that were not from Alabama.
Oh,
Come up with
low
that, so-
blow. Roll Tide.
Yeah, banned once again. You were going to tell us about what makes Japanese whiskey different.
Well, they're different and they're the same. Each distillery has its own style for maturing whiskey, and they still follow the traditional methods that they practice in Scotland. It's really hard to generalize about all the ways they do it. But here's some things. Whiskey is distilled twice, just like in Scotland. They use pot stills, just like in Scotland. Malted barley is also used. Most of it's also imported from Scotland. Some of that stuff is peated. Some of the barley comes from Australia. They use American oak and bourbon casks, just like the Scottish do. They import casks from Scotland. They import casks from America. They import sherry casks from Spain. I met with the founder of, I'm sorry, not the founder, the master distiller of Nikka, the current master distiller, last year, and he was telling me the travails they've had with the different companies in Spain, thinking, oh, the Japanese know nothing about Spanish casks, and we can sell them the horrible ones, and the legal ramifications of that and everything they went through. So they actually take very good care in sourcing their casks, and the stuff they buy from America is, we sell a lot of them the virgin oak, so they can't mess with that. The Japanese climate is very similar. Oh, I forgot. There's another type of cask they use. It's the Mizunara cask from Japanese oak that has a very tight grain, gives a different flavor characteristic. They have a climate similar more to Kentucky and Tennessee in America than Scotland. So with the hot summers and cold winters, you've got these great extremes, and it makes the maturation of the whiskey a little bit faster.
That's right. She's saying, work that wood, baby. That's what that does with all those temperature changes.
Is that appropriate for NPR? For PRX?
Yeah, sure. You bet.
Yeah, why not?
She said it. We're talking about the wood, man.
The wood. It's all good.
What are you thinking?
Yeah,
of?
what are you thinking?
My people wrote the Kama Sutra. What are we all thinking about? All right. So anyway, due to the temperature differences, that you got that faster maturation, and it really shows the American wood very well. That the big vanilla flavors from the American toasted oak comes out. And because they innovate a lot more, they have a broad range flavors. They're not tied in tradition like the Scottish are. Let me tell you, it's kicking and dragging them to change things in Scotland. They've had a lot of Scottish whiskey makers who wanted to innovate and get slapped down by the Single Malt Whiskey Society. or the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society.
Well, laddie, it's been working for the last 300 years or longer, way before your ancestors or even thinking about doing something different. So why are you going to be changing on us, eh?
That's right. That's right.
And where'd you hide the Lucky Charms?
Right.
They're magically delicious.
Yeah.
That Kama Sutra thing you were talking about, is it that
Let's get back to the Japanese stuff.
Right.
So, much like the Kama Sutra, there's different. No, I'm sorry. They use different.
Oh, there's lots of different things.
They also do other things differently in Japan. They use different shaped stills. They're tied to using the pot stills. They'll also use coffee stills. The continuous distillation columns. They experiment with different types of cask maturations, and this is the most important part, really. Whereas the Scottish whiskey guys will make a bunch of different batches and casks, and they will trade whiskey among themselves. Japanese are a little bit more shrewd about this. They don't want to trade whiskey with their competitors. So instead of, let's say Macallan and Highland Park getting together and making a famous grouse or something like that, or Glenmorangie selling some casks. Do they still sell casks, Bob?
Yeah, I believe.
To a private bottler. Some of them are cutting down.
Independent bottlers are buying it from all the.
Yeah, I don't think they do a whole lot of that in Japan, though.
No, they stopped doing it in Japan.
Yeah.
They never actually really did it. So instead of them, one distillery making one specific style, they innovate with different experiments with different casks. Not as crazy as Buffalo Trace, I think. It was just they were overboard, but different cask styles and different even peat levels and temperatures of distillation. They make several different whiskeys. So one like Nikka may make 15 to 30 different types of whiskey just in-house, and then blend those.
Wow. So, Bob, I know that you and I were talking, a little bit about, the Japanese whiskey, and, I really enjoyed this conversation that we kind of had about the actual peat from Japan, because that was one of the things that I kind of learned, through researching this episode was I thought that they were actually importing the Scotch into Japan, and maturing it in Japan. So I really thought that everything was fired in Scotland and they were shipping things over. Because I'm like, well, how can you get this incredible peaty flavor? And you said it's their own.
Yeah, well, I mean, they still, I think the vast majority of the peat that they're using, they're buying from malt houses in Scotland that are smoking there, but there are some distilleries that have been experimenting with doing their own. And, you got to remember, peat is something that you can find, in a lot of places all over planet Earth. I mean, here in Florida, the Everglades is basically filled with it. But the interesting thing about peat is it's terroir. It's like dealing with wine. It's very different, the peat there, than it is anywhere else in the world. It's very different, the peat on Islay as opposed to the peat in the Highlands. Yeah, the different areas of Scotland, the peat is different than it is anywhere else in the world as well. So when they're experimenting and using the peat from Japan, it doesn't just add that smoky flavor that it adds it, but it's a different smoky flavor.
Yeah.
It's entirely different there.
Julieanna and I are sitting here nodding our heads because we've actually done a couple of shows on different regions of Scotland, and definitely there's a lot of characteristic of the peat itself. A lot of the ingredients have a lot of variation in various regions, for Scotland, and definitely Islay is definitely probably the most distinctive elements. Oh, she's swooning over here. So the big deal of the decade was the one where $13.6 billion is what Suntory Holding paid for Jim Beam. Now, we actually have some of their products here today, which is the Hakushu, and they actually make the Yamazaki brand as well, which we have in our lineup today. I mean, that's just incredible.
That quote is a lot of money for Jim Beam.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for Jim Beam. That's what she said. So I'm curious what you guys think about this move. Was this a good thing for the industry or bad, or that's a lot of money?
Let me jump in here. From my side, just the retail equation, most Americans don't know and don't care. I do have a couple people who said, "Oh, Jim Beam's owned by Japanese now, and is it going to be the same?" Well, it probably will be the same. I don't think they went in there to buy Jim Beam to change it. They bought it to add to their portfolio. What they really bought was a distribution channel in the United States to increase their distribution of the Japanese whiskeys. But another thing is, if they do come in and change it, it may be for the better, because Bowmore almost went extinct because they were making crappy whiskey for a long time. And the Japanese bought it and they fixed it. Mm-hmm. And Bowmore is back on top. It's beautiful whiskey. They fixed Akintoshan in the lowlands. I used to dislike lowland whiskey intensely because of the style. And just cleaning up the distillation process and the quality of the barrels brought a beautiful whiskey to the fore again. And the Japanese can take credit for that. Hiring the right people, getting the right training.
There's international investment in whiskeys all over the world from all over the world. Four Roses is owned by Kirin Brewery. Before Kirin bought it, I believe it wasn't owned by Campari. A lot of different distilleries in different countries are owned by large corporations in countries entirely different from them. And it doesn't always mean it's a bad thing. A lot of times when you've got those deep pockets, it helps them to actually, take some of the load off and helps them to continue making the whiskey they're making. Like Harm said, they're not going to buy it and go, well, they're selling, 1 billion bottles of Jim Beam all over planet Earth every year. Let's go in and screw this up.
Yeah.
Let's change it and make it taste like something entirely different, like New Coke. Yeah. So
I don't know. I've seen worse. I've seen people do stuff like that, with with that much money involved,
Oh, yeah.
And you definitely have some very large players, like Diageo, that already have tremendous international holdings. The recent deal that went down between Bacardi and for Angel's Envy.
Yeah.
Diageo, there's rumors now that there's a Brazilian billionaire who wants to buy them.
Yep.
And now their stock is shooting up.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So
went up 10 points on Friday.
So these exchanges in large sums of money, is not always just for the brand. There's definitely, like Harmeet was saying, that sometimes it is about distribution access or into, assets that are on U.S. soil. I think in this case, having a distillery, on U.S. soil for access for the Japanese, I think is a big deal as well. They'd be able to actually, manufacture their product, right on U.S. soil, as opposed to importing it as well. I'd have a real problem with that,
I would too. Would you still get to call it Japanese whiskey?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, since we don't have a lot of food laws here in the U.S. That would really restrict them, from doing something like that. We've seen a lot of strange things like that happen, where manufacturing's moved around just for the sake of saving, on supply chain money, as well as skirting around tax and import laws.
I think you have another show coming up with international whiskeys. With I think Bob can talk about that.
Yeah. So let's move along here. We got a little bit more information. So Julieanna has the fun fact on Japanese whiskey.
Ooh, the fun fact. So, whiskey with an E, whiskey without the E. What's going on there? E. So, as Japanese whiskey has so much in common with Scottish whiskies rather than the Irish or American varieties, its name follows the Scottish tradition and spells it without the E.
Oh, man. What is up with that?
E is completely extraneous.
Silent.
What do you need it for? Come on.
It's just filler.
There's a Y at the end of that word. That's you don't say whisk Y. It's whiskey.
It is kind of extra.
And
I don't understand this language of yours. It's messing me up. So hard to learn. So many damn rules and all the exceptions.
There's an E, and in the mountains there's an E. Yeah.
Well, I love Bob's comment about his watch. It's still the same, even though if Rolex has 3 E's, it's still a Rolex.
Good, yeah. The guy I bought
3 E's and 2 X's, right?
Good, so yeah.
Well, hopefully you've enjoyed this background discussion on Japanese whiskey so far. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be right back, and then we'll talk about some of our tasting and rating notes on these products for today. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to Sips, Suds, and Smokes. In case you missed what we were talking about today, it's all about Japanese whiskey. So,
有効と RE リスニング TOSIPS SUDS and Smokes.
yeah, you're listening to Sips, Suds, and Smokes today, this Japanese whiskey episode. We're
You need to train your robot better. She's spelling sips.
well, you know,
You hire some more Japanese to work on that one.
I agree. Well, we have enough Japanese whiskey now that maybe we can get some native speakers to come over and tell me you suck at Japanese.
USUCK at Japanese.
For sure. Well, listen, we're going to talk about the products that we have for today. In case you forgot what we were talking about a few minutes ago, I went through the list. Here it is once again. I butchered it the first time, and I'm going to butcher it again. So it's Hakushu, 12-year-old. I did it again. Nikka, Taketsuru, 17. Togouchi, 18. Yamazaki, 12. Yoichi, 10. Feel free to make up anything that you have.
Just go straight to the website and click on the
That's
click on
right.
the link.
I actually have a laugh track and applause loaded here, so I can take care of that, Julieanna. So actually, I'm up first talking about the first product, which is Hakushu 12. She's giving me a half buzzer.
That's not what it's called.
Go for it, Harmeet.
No. I didn't say I could do it better. I just said you didn't do it right.
So this product again is actually part of Suntory, and my tasting notes here on Hakushu.
It's spelled with an H. Where do you get Hakushu?
Hakushu,
Oh,
right?
boy.
Now I'm reading my
You have more
handwriting.
with English than I do.
I told you I was going to butcher it.
This is a lost cause.
It is. Let's talk about the whiskey. So, this particular product, I thought that it had a sweet start to it. It was a bit floral. I loved the finish off this. This had kind of a smoky finish to it, where some of the others, the peat or the smoke was kind of like right there. This one, it kind of snuck up on your palate, and so it was kind of a part of the lingering finish that was coming off this. I love this. Probably of the flight, this was probably my favorite. So my sips rating for Hakushu 18 or 12 for the Hakushu 12. They're squirming in their seats. Is going to be a 4.
That's classified.
And we're done.
Yep. Let's keep the secret to ourselves. Pour me another. So that's all I have to say is you just should enjoy another glass of that for sure. Well, up next, butchering the next product is going to be Julieanna with Togouchi 12, 18. I got 12, there was a 18, there was a 14. So to the woman who's going to talk about this product.
Oh, God.
Pronounce it a lot better than I did.
Togouchi?
Yeah, there you go.
There it is.
There you
Okay.
go.
Togouchi, 18-year-old.
1 out of 6.
Yeah. A little interesting fun fact about this, when I was reading up on it, was that the maturation is done in an abandoned railway tunnel.
Huh.
So I don't know if that helps the flavor at all, but I really enjoyed
It
this
makes
one.
me feel like paranoia. You can taste the paranoia.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of tunnels down here in South Florida. They tend to fill with water.
And lawyers.
We call them pools. Yeah. Same with basements. We don't have those either.
So on this, I got a lot of fruitiness and some vanilla, and a very strong oak, like vanilla oak flavor. But I really liked it, and it had a nice clean finish to it. I gave this one a 4.
A 4.
That's classified.
So with the Nikka Taketsuru, let's see. And I actually I went through mine a little fast, and I forgot to ask what you guys thought about. After I actually went through my own review. So so we'll cover this one first. So my tasting notes around this one are this was we were going to go with Harmeet and Bob, what they thought about this one, right?
No, we weren't, because they didn't have it.
This was the one they
No, we had this.
Yeah, that's what they had. This one, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we had an issue with shipping samples, but thankfully I actually own a store where we sell some of these things. Hint, hint. Great whiskeys. But how about you do the Yoichi 10 first? Did you guys get the Yoichi 10? Or?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, but we were talking about the Nikka Taketsuru. I'm sorry, the Togouchi. Togouchi 18. Yeah. So here's some of my tasting notes around that. I thought I wrote down smoky and peat right up front. Kind of balanced. I thought it had a great finish off of it. It was not hot. Some of these were actually a little hot on the tongue, and this was this one and the one that I just read, the Hakushu.
That's the one.
Hakushu.
Hakushu.
Yep. I'm going to get through it.
No
Probably
shoe,
not.
just
Anyway,
shoe.
this was a
Sip more scotch or sip more whiskey and add
If
syllables.
I say
add
it louder
syllables.
and often, I'll still screw it up. Anyway, I really thought this had a good balance to it. And I don't think that was necessarily a component of age. I really thought that this was probably one of the better products that we've tasted from the Japanese whiskey. So my sips rating for the you say it.
Togouchi.
Right. It's a 4 as well.
That's classified.
So two rounds. So the first product, I want to go back to the Hakushu. I didn't actually ask you guys, for your tasting notes around that product. So what you guys think about that one and your sips rating? Julieanna.
Oh, okay. I liked it. To me, it was a little hot, though, and I got, cinnamony smoke on it. But I thought it was a really interesting whiskey to drink. And I gave this one a 3, though.
Huh, interesting.
Interesting.
So did you pick up on any of that sweet essence, kind of on the front end of that at all?
I did, but it was more cinnamony sweet to me than it was just sweet, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, sure. Harmeet, I think you had some tasting notes on this one, correct?
Yeah. I didn't love it. The nose, I got the citrus and the pear and a little plum. I like really smoky whiskey, so I guess I'm maybe a little bit insensitive to that smoke and peat you keep talking about, because I like Isla, and this is nothing like that. I mean, this is more like a Highland in that style. There's very little peat and smoke for that, for me, at least in my opinion. Also, could be I'm defective. I don't know. There was some malted barley and some smoke, and the finish was pretty long for a 12-year-old, but I just didn't hit on all cylinders for me, and then I added some water to it, and the water didn't do anything to it either. So you gave it a 4, I gave it a 2. Sorry.
Well, isn't that nice?
So maybe it was this one is so very different than so many of the others. Maybe that was just kind of refreshing, to my own palate. And I maybe that's why I was giving it an elevated rating, just because it didn't have that one note smoky, peaty, tasting like 8 other Japanese whiskeys. I don't know. I really did like it though. Bob, did you have any tasting notes on the Hakushu?
Pretty much. Hakushu. There you go. 3 syllables.
Yep,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm teachable.
Yeah, basically, I came up with the same things that Harm did. You know, it very light on the nose, pear, plum, citrus, fruit. Very, very light mouthfeel. I could barely detect just the slightest bit of smoke. Clean. You know, not a cluttered palate, but just, you know, not a lot there. The water, I thought, helped it a little, but not anything significant. You know, slightly dry finish on the mouth, a little bit of fruit, a little bit of citrus. It's not horrible, but it's, you know, not the first thing I'd grab off the shelf. I gave it a 3.
Wow. A really split panel on this. Interesting. All right, so the next product that we have up, I'm not going to get these wrong anymore, guys. Trust me. I know I
right.
them all around the place, so sorry.
You can do this, Mike.
Yep.
You can do this.
We're going to talk about the Yoichi 10, and Harmeet is going to cover that one.
Okay, Yoichi 10. Yoichi is one of the distilleries owned by Nikka, and they make some beautiful whiskeys with Yoichi. The 10-year-old, unfortunately, is not available in Florida. The sample we got was from England, and I'm happy you sent it to me. Thank you. We have the 12 and the 15. And I'm surprised that the 10 tasted so nice. I mean, it was hot, like you were saying, but let me go into from the beginning. From the nose, I got that earthiness and the peatiness, but there was a higher, elevated acidity on the nose too, that brought out floral notes and peach and plum. And then I came back to it and I got some spice. I got some vanilla going on. It was beautiful. And then when I tasted it, it just followed right along with the nose. It was the floral and citrus. But what really struck me was it felt very viscous and oily. I wasn't expecting that on a 10-year-old. You know, it's like I kind of associate that with more wood, but more time in the wood. But I guess maybe it's the distillation they're doing as well. It was very balanced. There was a slight bit of peat on the palate, and the finish was creamy and good oak. But then I put water in it, because I do that, because I'm one of those people. But not an eyedropper. I never use a frickin' eyedropper. People who do that are pretentious. But
he uses a water balloon. It's really creepy. Or a syringe. Where did you get that?
Be
pick the needles up on the beaches everywhere.
The most interesting tasting ever sitting beside Harmeet, I'd have to say. What are those balloons for?
This is South Florida. Balloons here are used for completely smuggling other things, but water balloons. But let me tell you, the water actually added smoke to it. Adding a little bit of cold water brought out more of the smoke on the nose. I thought it was still a little bit hot, but the vanilla custard really popped out with that water, and I enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.
Wow, how about that?
And I don't give 10-year-olds a 4. I put 10-year-olds in the corner.
Julieanna, what did you think about Yoichi 10?
You know, surprisingly, I really like this one too.
Huh.
I got, to me, this tasted like what a Japanese Highland whiskey would be like, if that makes any sense.
I completely agree. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, surprisingly great for its age. And a great finish on it too. And, you know, like Harmeet, when I added some water, I got a little smokier too. And I was like, ooh, this is cool. And I gave this one a 4.
Wow, how about that?
That's classified.
4. Bob, what'd you think about the Yoichi 10?
I've got to agree with the two of them. I was pleasantly surprised at how good it was for a 10-year-old. On the nose, the earth and the peat absolutely came through. Tropical fruit, spicy, star anise, a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of vanilla.
Yeah, that was the spice. I couldn't put my finger on it. There wasn't
on the palate, sweet citrus, the viscosity, the almost oily viscosity to it. I mean, it was glass coating and mouth coating, which you just don't get out of something that's only got 10 years. Very well balanced. The finish, just a nice light bit of peat, which the smoke really comes out when you add the water. Very creamy finish. I mean, looking at it, it's 45% ABV, but it tastes a little bit higher in alcohol than it actually is. It tastes a little bit bigger than it is, and it tastes a little bit older than it is. I gave it a 4.
I'm about that, a 4 as well.
That's classified.
And so my tasting notes on Yoichi 10, I thought it was pretty hot. I thought of everything here in the flight. I thought this was definitely the hot alcohol, right up front on this. I wrote down pure peat.
Wow.
Yeah. In fact,
No.
yeah. I really thought this was something that just almost had been dumped out of the Isla, for they were just really heavy, peat presence up front on this. But I just couldn't get past it, being hot. It was not my favorite of the flight, but still very interesting. My sips rating for Yoichi 10 is a 3.
Interesting.
Okay.
Well, there you have 3 products that we've talked about so far. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll kind of right back. We got a couple more products to talk about. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to Sips, Suds, and Smokes, or as she said,
有効と RE リスニング TOSIPS SUDS and smokes.
you guys are loaded. She said, you're listening
Translated, that said hello.
You're listening to Sips, Suds, and Smokes. And the other thing she has to say is,
USUCK at Japanese.
yeah, you suck at Japanese. That's exactly right. So today is an episode on Japanese whiskey, and we're making fun of all things in the Japanese culture at the same time. I should say we're actually making good fun of good old boy Mike, just butchering everything associated with Japanese.
We're making fun of our own ignorance. That's
for sure.
I've got two Pikachus.
I'm from India, but I'm the ugly American today. Come on.
Yeah, right. I agree. There's a Pikachu in this episode somehow, some way. We got 2 more great products to talk about here in our lineup. So up next is Harmeet. He's going to talk about the Yamazaki 12.
Okay. Yamazaki makes some of my favorite whiskey, and that makes some of the world's favorite whiskey. You may suck at Japanese, Mike, but the Japanese do not suck at whiskey. The Yamazaki 12 is actually my favorite one to show in the store. When we put the stuff on the Enomatics and they say, you got Japanese whiskey. Well, here, let me show you what to do. This is, when people talk about how they don't drink their whiskey with water, I try not to make fun of them. I just point and laugh a little bit. But
I think
I like to show this one with water.
I think you'd have one of these moments, Harmeet.
Yeah.
Think you could break a 20?
That's exactly it.
A samurai moment every time you break
every
out,
time
break out the water
somebody
balloon.
wants to put a rock glass. Yeah. We use Glencairn glasses at my shop, my friend. We use Glencairn glasses for whiskey. We do not use rock glasses for that crap.
Pinky up.
Oh.
You drink it in a mason jar. Come on.
That's your people, Bob. He's from the hills.
Yeah, it holds a pint, okay? How much can you get in that little glass? All right.
So, again, Yamazaki, my favorite whiskey to show with and without water. It changes so much. It's one of the most beautiful whiskeys out there. Yamazaki's 18-year-old is always in the top 10 whiskeys in the world. The Yamazaki the Whiskey Bible, Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible, he writes the 2015 awards in November of 2014 because, he's that influential. He can make the year change. And he gave it best whiskey in the world, the 2013 sherry cask. Was it single cask? Was it sherry cask?
Sherry.
So, unfortunately, that one didn't come to America either, but people are bidding it up, so you can probably get that on eBay for under $1,000 right now. The Yamazaki 12, however,
you can.
is much more approachable, under $100 too, and fantastic quality. Without water. Light nose, honey, floral, tropical fruit, definitely a little bit of banana coming at the end there. and it's a sweet Speyside with, and I think it's got a lot of oak. It's kind of heavier on the oak, and for me, it reminds me almost like a Dalmore without the water, and the finish is a little bit short. You know, the finish is again kind of one note, vanilla honey.
Yes, we're nodding over here. When you said Dalmore, that's totally it.
It's Dalmore. It's a big Highland with a lot of oak.
That's it.
You add that water, and it's beautiful Speyside. It changes. It's gorgeous. Apples and pear explode out of the glass. Banana comes in on the end of the nose there. You taste it. The vanilla and honey linger longer on the palate. It's still slightly astringent from all that 12 years in oak, but oh my God, it sails. And then I could just smell it all night. I could just leave that in my glass and just smell it and taste it all night. And I get a 5.
Oh, how about that? A 5.
Oh my goodness!
Amazing. We have a 5 in this lineup. Julieanna, what do you think about Yamazaki?
I have similar tasting notes to Harmeet. Especially when adding a little bit of water, it just was this beautiful, chewy Speyside to me. You know, with the great blending of fruits and the caramel and the vanilla, it was, and I got a little bit of that peat that I like in Speysides. I just thought it was great too, and I gave this one a 4.
Wow, how about that?
That's classified.
4 rating for the Yamazaki 12. Bob, what do you think about the Yamazaki 12?
I loved it. I've had it many, many times. It's got a beautiful nose, the tropical fruit, the banana that just comes through, and as Harm said, when you add a little water, it just jumps out of the glass. Very Speyside-like, just a beautiful, the palate is just a summery, beautiful, just like a nice warm summer day. Tropical fruit, the wood is present but not overbearing. It's got a nice finish, a little bit short, but still very nice. Honey, vanilla. I gave it a 4.
Wow, how about that?
That's classified.
A 4 as well. Well, my tasting notes here on Yamazaki 12. Actually, I wanted to take another swig of this 4.
We're taking another drink break. I'm going to try some more too.
I know. Well, it definitely echoes the earlier tasting notes I had. So, kind of light peat. There's definitely a smoky presence that's there. The one word I wrote down was pleasing. This has just great balance, kind of through and through. And boy, when he said Dalmore, I mean that is totally in the same flavor profile as this. Yeah, this is definitely net Speyside, variety. Even you mentioned some fruit. I thought in your tasting notes, right, Harmeet? Like an apple or plum.
When you add the water, apples and pears. Without it, was more the tropical banana type stuff.
Yeah, I can definitely pick up some of that this time around instead of just tasting everything back to back. When I kind of sat here with a fresh palate, I'm definitely picking up some of the essence of that fruit note as well. This is really good, and definitely that key word. This is pleasing to drink. I really love this. So this is a solid 4 all the way for me, definitely.
That's classified.
Great whiskey. And there's a good reason why the Yamazaki 18 is always very desirable, for sure.
And very expensive.
Yeah, that too. Well, up next is going to be Bob covering Nikka Taketsuru 17.
Yep. I was a little disappointed with it. 17 years old, I was hoping for a little bit more. Slightly lemony note on the nose. Light spice, a little bit of wood. Almost a leather nose to it. You can definitely tell some berries, sherry influence on it. The palate, a little bit of pepper, a little spice, vanilla, wood, not overbearing with the wood, raisins, currants, plum. When you added water to it, I got hints of almond that came out in it. The finish, nice spice, nice fruit. The finish dries towards the end, and you pick up a bit of bitter mineral notes, almost like a slatey, stony. I gave it a 3.
Huh. Interesting. Like she said, interesting. Julieanna, what did you think of the Nikka Taketsuru 17? Sorry.
See, he's getting better.
Oh, so this was one of the samples that Harmeet has to talk about.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is. You're tasting notes on the Nikka Taketsuru 17.
Oh, sorry. I got
okay.
you. I thought Bob was doing the thing, but that's fine. I've been drinking too much, apparently. I still love this. Look, Nikka makes great whiskey. Taketsuru is a pure malt. It's a blend of two different single malts. It's the Yoichi and the Miyagikyo. So Miyagikyo is the northernmost distillery in Japan, the northernmost distillery that Nikka owns, and Yoichi is the southernmost. Unless I've got that backwards, because, I've done the research, but I've been drinking. So where are my notes? Who knows?
I'm not quite sure.
But basically you're using...
the bell. I'm not quite
yeah,
sure.
thank you. They're taking a northern distillery and a southern distillery, and they're making a pure malt. Now, pure malts are, nothing to put your nose up on. Have you guys done a show about blended malts and pure malts versus
no, not
single
yet.
malts?
No.
Oh, that'd be a great show to do.
Yeah.
But basically, it's just two different single malts. There's no grain whiskey here at all. It's all malted barley. And so you've got Taketsuru makes a 15-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 21-year-old. And they're great. I'm sorry, a 12-year-old, a 17, and a 21. I've never had the 17-year-old before today. We do sell it. I just, can't bring myself to open up expensive whiskey every day and just drink it because I want to stay in business. And, the 21 I've had, the 12 I've had, this is the first time for the 17, and I really liked it. It was a little bit disappointing to me because I was expecting more like 21, but, it's not that price either. What Bob said, spice, wood, leather, they're all there. I didn't get the lemon note he got, but I thought it was very well balanced. Pepper and vanilla, definitely there. The sherry characteristics from the barrels they used did come out. I think a Macallan guy would love this whiskey. It's not as much sherry, of course. It's not 100% sherry. And it was a medium finish and slightly floral. I didn't give it a 5. I'm wavering between a 3 and a 4, but I think I have to really go to a 3, really. But I still like the whiskey.
Interesting. Well, this is one of the samples Julieanna and I didn't actually get to taste, so we'll skip our tasting notes on that. Really interesting flight, and hopefully, I learned an awful lot about Japanese whiskey, through this. Well, let's wrap up our segment for today. Really great show on Japanese whiskey, even though the whole time she was telling me that my Japanese sucks, right?
USUCK at Japanese.
That's right. You suck at Japanese, that's for sure.
The robot is right.
Well, thanks to our listeners here on Sips, Suds, and Smokes. You can catch all of our episodes online on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, PRX, YouTube, Uncle John's Basement, and Spreaker, our native media host. Our trusted radio stations are always expanding, and they're always questioning pretty much every ounce of syllables of Japanese that I've tried to mispronounce all day today, and they're going, cut him off, hit the silence button. Listen, if you'd like to hear this radio station on your, if you'd like to hear this show on your favorite radio station, send them a note. Wrap it around a good box of sushi as well as a Yamazaki 12, and copy us on any of that as well. Listen and get emails anytime. Our address is info@sipsudsandsmokes.com. I'm just completely butchering this as well, aren't I? Yeah, definitely. Our daily tasting notes flow out on Twitter. Our handle on Twitter is @SipSudSmoke. Our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news as well. Listen, do us a favor and take the time to rate this episode if you're listening to us online. That's a big help to us, and we get to see your feedback as well. This episode of Sips, Suds, and Smokes is sponsored by Fine Spirits, Wine, and Liquor. Check out the Enomatic machines to sample great products by the glass, including great selections of bourbon and whiskey. You can reach them online at www.finespirits.net. Well, I want to thank my co-host for being here today. Julieanna, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Good old boy, Harmeet, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me again.
Good old boy, Bob, thank you for joining us for this episode.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Well, this is good old boy Mike asking you to join us once again and keep on sipping.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sips, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see you all next time.